I try to throw in some Native American
On this edition of Native Report, we meet
such
artist
as the
Rocky Makes
dots.
Room for Them.
Perhaps they're kind of a
We visit the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux Community's organic garden and chicken farm.
NCAI's had a position for well over 40 years.
And we look at the Change the Mascot movement that urges the elimination of racially offensive sports names. We also learn something new about Indian country and hear from our elders on this Native Report.
Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux Community and the Blandin Foundation.
Welcome to Native Report. I'm Stacy Thunder. Rocky Makes Room for Them has been called a Renaissance man by his peers and fans of his art, which range from visual media to spoken word. The influences that have molded him arise from his knowledge of traditional art forms and contemporary experiences of modern life.
But with this piece, it's in the home.
The spray paint art of Rocky Makes Room for Them is a combination of old with the new, and a wall in his home proves to be the perfect canvas for his creative expression.
This mural, I painted for my partner. I know she really likes flowers. So I had this idea of, hey, can I paint your wall? And she said, sure. So we got some spray paint, and I immediately thought of this rose, and I started with that first, and then going into this kind of red flowerish. And I tried to keep it, I tried to throw in some Native American details in there, such as the dots. Perhaps they're kind of a beads. So I kept the dot form in there so I can make it look like a beaded floral pattern with the kind of graffiti spin to it. I think I got into painting because my dad was a painter. I remember being young, even a very young boy, my dad would be sitting at the table painting all the time on canvas. His genre was acrylics and oils, and he had this natural talent of painting whatever he wanted and making it look real, like a photograph. As a young teenager, a young man in the culture, the mainstream culture of hip hop and all that, I got my art into graffiti art. I got some spray paint and I started painting trains, buildings, bridges. But my work wasn't necessarily letters. It was flowers or horses or stars, a lot of nature things. Indian graffiti is what I called it. And it wasn't until recently that I thought I'd use the concept of painting it on canvas.
Rocky is also accomplished in traditional art forms such as quill work. He learned these skills from his elders, and he in turn teaches others.
I've watched my aunties do it as growing up. I didn't get involved learning how to do it until probably like 1980s. I was still young. I took a class through, at the time, Lake Superior College. And there was a woman from Pine Ridge, I don't remember her name, she was an elderly woman. She came down and showed me one-on-one instructions on the different techniques of quilling. Quilling to me is very important. It teaches a lot of discipline, how to be patient. I've done lots of different art, and I've retaught that art to the community. So I think just the fact to reteach it and pass it on to somebody, I think is a good thing to do, and that's kind of a lot of what I have been doing with all the different arts, the genre of arts that I've been involved in. I've made flutes, can play the flute. I've made drums. I'm a singer. I produce even my own songs. Just got done producing a CD for the Fond du Lac Community College. I've done beadwork.
One art form that has his attention right now is poetry. And for Rocky, the world around him carries inspiration.
This one is called Negations of Reality. It's cold, winters stretch through spring, bloodshot skies. Along Duluth's concrete steps, an old native man passed out, snoring aromas of wine, and not the good kind. A bald eagle, I thought, his once long black hair now white like feathers. Isn't he the guy whose powwow love songs made the coyotes howl and cry? They were begging him to sing more. Oh, those love songs hypnotized you, made you kind of feel lost in love. Once upon a time when the sun rose in her constellation. He was also that one guy whose songs made us deep in light years, deep into the creation's energy that made impossible possible, like we were back when Indians were Indians. He slept there in the cold with empty bottles, bus stop of people. He was dreaming of beautiful flower scents like colors of wine, dreaming of blowing wishes of dandelions, confessions of love on a summer's breeze, songs from chickadees and whirlwinds. I know he was that guy. He must still have much power in him because he has made himself invisible to all. That piece came from when I was walking downtown and it was a cold day, and I walked by St. Paul's Church and I saw this man laying there like that. Everybody around him didn't see him. They ignored him. And I stood there as I was walking by looking at him and felt all these things, and I was wondering who he was, and I know he was never like this perhaps, and I imagine nothing but good things from him that he still has.
Rocky did the murals at the Gamaji Building, Duluth's Urban Indian Center, which is also where he had his most recent exhibition.
I think Duluth is very promising for artists. I think a lot of people in the community are artists, and the community really likes a lot of art-based things, and Duluth has a lot of opportunities for that. And with the nature of Duluth, the settings of it, the Lake Superior has a lot to offer. Art brings to the world something I've just realized recently, I think, after doing art all my whole life. It brings all variety of people in together, and like all the walls and guards go down, and you could actually have moving forward in things if we have a big art show and people come to discuss important matters of the community. I think a lot of things could be done just by using the art as a bridge to bring in talks about what's going on. I'm very proud to be who I am, Native American, and I'm very proud to be an artist also. And putting those together, so I'm not real big on which is more important, but if I had to pick, I guess I'd go with that I'm proud to be a Native artist.
Did you know that the number of American Indian mascots has been reduced over the last half century? According to the National Congress of American Indians, tribal advocates have succeeded in eliminating over 2/3 of derogatory Indian sports mascots and logos over the past 50 years. Today, there are fewer than 1,000 of these mascots left. In 2005, the National Collegiate Athletic Association formally condemned the use of disparaging mascots and banned the use of Indian names, logos, and mascots during its championship tournaments. The National Congress of American Indians recognizes that this can be a difficult and sensitive issue. However, NCAI notes that at the end of the day, there is no excuse for cultural stereotypes that degrade, slander, mock, or belittle Native people. The organization ends its statement with these words: "This misrepresentation would not be acceptable for any other minority community in America, and NCAI will continue to oppose the use of offensive Native mascots and imagery that promote harmful stereotypes."
Coming up next, Wozupi is the Dakota word for garden and is one of the many ways the Shakopee Mdewakanton Dakota are caring for the environment, Mother Earth, people, and future generations. A chicken farm for the production of organic eggs is a recent addition at the garden. As a gray November sky threatens rain, chickens roam in the fenced-in yard at the Wozupi orchard. The idea for a chicken farm came from the late Stanley R. Crooks, chairman of the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux Community.
Chairman Stanley Crooks, before he passed, wanted us to begin raising chickens that would produce eggs for the community here, eggs that we could sell at the natural food store Wozupi, and eggs that we could sell to the employee workforce. So we got our first flock of hens 2 years ago, and we felt like we could incorporate these chickens into our organic orchard here, into our organic system plan, by allowing them to free range on the pasture here within the orchard. We felt like they would help eliminate bugs, which can be tricky in an organic operation, as well as provide additional fertility to the trees. So they would help us manage our orchard, and in return they would give us really wonderful omega-3 rich eggs. Right now we currently have, give or take, 260. The community has certainly loved having the chickens here. We have no problem moving our eggs. They are certified organic eggs, and so that definitely adds additional costs to our operation. But in terms of community involvement, we have a wonderful volunteer who comes every day and helps us tend the chickens. And then in terms of sales, I mean, we are able to move every egg that we produce.
Wozupi staff and volunteers must follow certain procedures for the chicken eggs to be certified as organic.
We have to follow the National Organic Program standards and be certified every year by a third-party certifying agency to make sure that we are in compliance. It means that they have to eat 100% certified organic feed. It means that if they're going to be pastured, that they have to be pastured on certified organic land. It means that we are not allowed to treat them with any antibiotics or, many medications that are allowed in a conventional operation.
I had chickens up north when I lived in Itasca County, and so I had a little farm up there. And I miss them. It's kind of fun to kind of interact with chickens on a daily basis. The black and white ones are called barred rocks. They are a very traditional type of laying hen. And the others are called Rhode Island Reds, and that is also an old American name for chickens. And their eggshells are made of calcium, and so they love anything that has calcium in it, which is all dairy products. The dairy products come from the organic store, and so whatever they don't sell, they donate to the chickens. And those products are full of calcium and protein for laying hens, and so it's part of their nutrition, and they love it.
Over 200 eggs are harvested on an average day, which is a relatively short process.
Yeah, they're pretty almost done laying for today. So, and then they usually pick eggs probably later in the day. So these are a little bit different, and these are all going to be changed around to make them all match, but they're all about the same. Some lighter colored, some not.
The eggs are then taken to the field house, where they are lightly scrubbed, graded according to their size, and then placed in containers ready for market or for participants in the TSA program.
TSA stands for Tribally Supported Agriculture, and it is a program that's based off of the Community Supported Agriculture, or CSA, model of farming and distribution of foods. You know, before the chickens, we had bees. That was our only livestock. But certainly since we've added the chickens, it's engaged children that come down here to the site, to the space in a whole new way. So the children are certainly drawn to these animals. They can learn, you know, about animal husbandry. They're certainly entertained by them. They love feeding them. And it just brings a different level of excitement and engagement to the garden.
When I first went into the service, you know, I thought we was just going to be regular troops, you know, to fight. But they called us back and told us that we was going to use our native language, you know, to develop a code, and that's what we did. It took us almost about a year to develop this code, and when we went overseas, that's the only thing we used, you know, a Navajo language made into code, you know. And it's one of the roughest things for these Japanese tried to decipher the code, you know, but they never did. And it's one thing I always remember, you know, it's one of the most beautiful things that ever happened during World War II. I'm very proud and very happy about that. When we came home, you know, and people asked us all kinds of questions, you know, but I think they told us when we were discharged not to talk about what we did, you know, not to tell anybody, you know, or try to decipher a code or something like that, you know. They wanted to know what we did, but they told us not to talk about what we did, you know. But it took almost a little over 20 years before they told us it was all right to talk about it, you know, and that's when I told my folks and my relatives, you know, what we did, and they were so happy to know that we use our native language to develop a code and use it during the war.
Change the Mascot is a national campaign to end the use of the R word as the Washington, D.C. football team's name and mascot. Launched by the Oneida Indian Nation, the campaign calls upon the NFL to end the use of the derogatory term. The National Congress of American Indians has also joined the cause.
As commuters go about their business in downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma, at the Cox Business Center, the National Congress of American Indians is holding their annual convention. One topic of great interest is the issue of professional sports team names and mascots.
Well, NCAI has joined together with many other organizations across the country to once again continue to eradicate negative, derogatory mascots that are harmful to our Native youth. NCAI has had a position for well over 40 years on mascots, and now we've just really joined forces, and you see that we're loud and clear, particularly against the DC football team. We've got a lot of support from members of Congress. We've got support from organizations across Indian country, tribal leaders across Indian country, and are joining the efforts of like the Oneida Nation, and of course the good stalwart efforts of Suzanne Harjo.
We have so many huge, huge problems to address. The reason that the issue of the mascotting of Native America is important is that it's overarching, undergirding, fundamental, and it tells the rest of the world what kind of self-respect we have. When it is permissible to make fun of our people, to make fun of our children, our elders, our traditions, our cultures, our past, our very beings, when it is permissible to make fun of us, to mock us, right out in the open, in public, in a way that no other segment of society would be mocked, then we're saying it's okay to do all these other things to us. The longer I work in public policy in Washington, D.C., the more profoundly I see what an impact this kind of education has on public policy makers. They get most of their information about us from the sports images about us.
The Change the Mascot campaign was launched in 2013 by the Oneida Nation of New York, led by the efforts of tribal leader Ray Halberter.
Last month, the Oneida Nation launched our Change the Mascot campaign in radio ads across the country. We were asking the NFL to stop using a racial slur as the name of Washington's football team. As a proud sponsor of the NFL, the Oneida Nation has a vested interest in the league being a unifying force in communities throughout America. This name is not a unifying force, it's a divisive epithet. Washington's team name is a painful epithet that was used against my people, Indian people, when we were held at gunpoint and thrown off our lands. It is a word that few would ever use in casual conversation when talking to a Native American. When marketed by a professional sports team, it is a word that tells Native American children they are to be denigrated. They are second-class citizens. But as you will hear today, Washington's continued use of the current team name is not just a slur against one group of people. It has demonstrable and serious public policy, cultural, educational, public health ramifications for our entire country.
It's important to know a little bit about the history of mascots. Mascots came about in the early 1920s to the 1950s, and it was really a sad time for Indian country. That was a time when there was a lot of termination. Clearly, we're in the midst of assimilation policies that the federal government had, and these mascots came at that time period almost as if to say, we've conquered American Indian. Indian country is going to go away. They're going to be assimilated, and we're celebrating in their dance and song and as they imitate Indian country. It also was a time of an era of civil rights. Well, we've moved a long way past that. This country's moved a long way past that. And today you wouldn't use the same kind of racist, the same kind of racist statements as Redskins, as may have happened during that time period. And clearly you wouldn't call another ethnic group by the color of their skin. So now is the time for us to change history and to be able to eradicate mascots that are negatively affecting our students.
Change the Mascot released several video spots and have gained support from over 200 civil rights organizations, including the United Nations, the American Civil Liberties Union, the American Association of People with Disabilities, the NAACP, and the National Organization of Women.
I'm so happy that the Oneida Indian Nation has stepped forward and begun to, as sponsors of the Buffalo Bills, take their position right into the home and into the camp of the NFL. End this name, end all of these slurs against Native people. We're not going to take it anymore. That's the right answer. That's the right position, and it's about time that we're heard throughout the country and that we're understood very clearly. They call us troublemakers, and we just have to keep saying to them, the trouble was already there. We're just doing something about it. Thank you so much. I hope.
For more information about Native Report or the stories we've covered, look for us at nativereport.org and Facebook. Thank you for spending time with us here on Native Report. I'm Stacy Thunder.
Stacy Thunder is a member of and legal counsel for the Red Lake Nation, and Ted Johnson is a member of the Boys Fort Band of Chippewa and is chair for the American Indian Studies Department on the campus of the University of Minnesota Duluth. Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux Community and the Blandin Foundation.